deal with the frustrations that our care receivers cause us without getting emotional ourselves?
Okay, read it again.
I've never been frustrated with a care receiver, so I'm not really sure how to answer that.
Really?
How can we deal with frustrations that our care receivers cause us without getting emotional ourselves? Has anyone in this panel actually had someone that they've gotten to the point where they got really frustrated? Wow, okay. Ann, I think your hand went up first.
Yeah, and that relationship, it was a situation with substance abuse. And it was, over the course of time, it just got worse and worse. And the legal system was involved. And this person lost her children and would show up to meetings with her cup with happy stuff in it. And, you know, and we're drinking, there you go, Mike, at a coffee place. And she was, you know, it just, she was angry all the time and blaming everybody else and just over and over and over and over again and never introspectively saying, you know, and why this can't work and why that can't work. And I would, in my groups then, I'm pretty sure knew it was frustrating and I didn't know, you know, kind of what direction to go. And so finally we just sort of ended the Stephen Ministry relationship and I kept in touch with her and still do, you know, sometimes. But I was frustrated and, you know, at the beginning I was mad on her behalf of kind of like this is what life has dealt her. And then I began to see the dependence, you know, that whole personality emerge from her because of the substance abuse. And so then I realized this was way out of my lane. You know, nothing was going to change with this relationship. And she came initially through career transitions, and it just morphed into this other big problem. So yes, I was frustrated a lot coming out of those meetings.
So how did you deal with that? And how did your group help you with that?
I think, you know, everybody listened pretty much, but said, you know, I mean, this is out of your control. This is not a Stephen Ministry type thing. And, you know, or, you know, I sided with her. I took her side at the beginning. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to, you know, kind of be her advocate. But then I think a few folks said, you know, what if she's the one who's wrong in that whole thing, you know? And so then it was like, oh, okay. You know, I didn't want to see that. But then finally looking at it from a different perspective, you know, then I was angry that I knew she was in her car with her kids that way. And I started to I lost respect for her. You know, I did, for her judgment, her decisions that she made and things. And so we still text, and I sent her a Christmas card. You know, we keep in touch, but as far as Stephen Ministry relationship, it was just, yeah.
Karol, did you say you had a...
I did. I've had, I probably, sounds terrible, I probably have had multiple ones that I've been frustrated with. I think that's part of me being human and, you know, being human and having expectations, even though as a Stephen minister I shouldn't have expectations, but, you know, so that I fight with that, and I have to be very aware of that. I did have a situation though where I was deaf and I would bring it to group and I would just be, because she had mental illness and her choices, and you could just see the choices that she was making were being self-destructive. And it was not a dependency thing, it was truly a mental health thing. And she was just getting deeper and deeper into problems, and it was all because of her, you know, her bipolarness, and she became suicidal, and that was a journey. And how did I deal with it? I kept bringing it to the group, and, you know, and that's why, again, you know, I'll harp on the fact that even if you don't have a care receiver, your presence is so important, because it was so helpful for me to bring it to the group and get it out. Because our relationship between the care receiver, I was solely there so that she could just bleh, and, you know, that I could be there for her. But I had to carry it, and I needed to get rid of it.
And you,
so,
yeah, you can't go home and talk, you know, it's.
no, but I'm carrying it, and it got heavy. And so it's just, that's what small group is for. But no, I have frustration. It's frustrating sometimes when, you know what you would do in this circumstance. That's not necessarily what.
Not their journey.
Their
journey.
It's
It's
their
not
journey,
ours.
it's not mine, right? And so, but I do have frustration, but more frequently than not, I'm terrible.
But that's the value of small group, and that's the intent, is that, and I say this every time I first meet with somebody, is we want this relationship to be healthy for the care receiver, for you, but it's got to be healthy for your Stephen minister too. So the small group is where you as small group members should be watching and listening to make sure that if you're picking up that Cheryl's frustrated or angry, or my boundaries are a little sketchy there, you need to care about me as a Stephen minister enough to say, Cheryl, let's talk about this. Let's go, because I may not be recognizing that. I may not even recognize I'm frustrated, but you may hear it and when I do a check-in.
And it might have been time for me with that one to maybe have traded for, to have given this particular person to another care receiver or another Stephen minister. Because I just remember this. And it ended because she actually moved away. She chose to do something that I wouldn't have done, but, again. But it might have, and that's why our small groups are so important, because, my group never said, I think you probably might want to consider having another Stephen minister walk in. And that's actually not a bad thing to do. And it's not a failure on your part to step away. It's actually a positive thing. So hear me when I say that. It's okay. I was young in being a Stephen minister, and I think that would have, now I think I would. I think I would back up and say, okay, we need round two.
I like the way the question is worded too. It says, how do we deal with the frustration that we sometimes feel? As opposed to, the question isn't posed, or that's posed isn't, how do we keep from being frustrated? It's how do we deal with it? And the reason I say it's important is it's okay to be frustrated from time to time. You don't need to feel like, well, I'm a bad Stephen minister if I'm frustrated with my care receiver.
I'll take it even deeper. It's okay to feel. It's okay to hurt. It's okay to feel whatever it is you're feeling. It just isn't okay to hold on to it and to be it and to make it part of you. That's what small group is for it to come out and to be there and for other people to help you carry it.
I think these are all, the two examples that you guys shared were extreme examples, I think, of
Yes.
frustration. I've heard any number of people in this room say, my care receiver is chronically 20 minutes late for every time we're meeting. Drives me crazy. Or, my care receiver will occasionally forget, and, more than once has just simply forgotten our meeting and just not shown up. Well, that's when you just need to have a come to Jesus meeting with your care receiver and basically kind of review what you both signed up for, and, in a nice way, but, I think that's where you sort of have to have mutual accountability with your care receiver, and you're accountable to one another. And if that's continuing to frustrate you for whatever reason, then you take it to your small group or to a Stephen leader or whatever. But don't just stew in it yourself. Try to resolve whatever the frustration is that you're having, and if you can't do that, seek help.
And it's okay to reach out to your facilitator. It's okay to reach out to a leader. It doesn't have to wait till you go to group. So you have all of our numbers. give us a call, whichever one you want.